Hey guys, welcome back to another build guide. Today we'll be looking at a dancing dervish build, and I have to say it's by far the cheapest build I've ever seen that is still able to handle all the content. You can easily do tier 16 maps and any boss you like. It does have one downside though, it's not very good at monoliths. It's just the AI of the minions, I guess. It's really hard clearing the whole thing, so you kinda have to pick a side and get a few rewards at most. But other than that, everything else is pretty smooth, and the build is about less than 1 exalt in total. So basically how this build works is you need to get your rampage so that you can spawn the dervishes. And to do that we use 2 of these worm flasks, provided you have the correct passives, and also you need a belt with reduced flask charges used. Otherwise you might need 3 of these worm flasks. So yeah, the dervish are the ones that will do all of the damage. You just try to cyclone and stay alive for the most part of it. The footage in the background is from the Metamorph League, and I was using Spirit Offering there, but it just got nerfed and I completely got rid of the energy shield, which was the main reason I used it. So now I'm using Cyclone with Life on Hit instead, and also with Fortify, just to try and balance out the defense a little bit more. We are using the Scion as a class because you really want to make use of the Pathfinder, which will generate your flask charges, which is very helpful if you're up against, say, a boss with phases and you don't want to lose your rampage, because then you'll be in a bit of a trouble. So with that ascendancy you can juggle between the 2 flasks for a very long time without worrying to ever lose your rampage. And also the other one we use is Guardian. It's not a big deal, but I think it's the better one of all the other options. It gives you a little bit of life regeneration, and it also gives onslaught to you and your minions as long as there's at least 5 minions nearby. So basically what you do is once you enter a map you just use your worm flasks and it should give you a rampage, and then off you go. I was also lucky enough to get a Cortex fight from Zana, which went pretty smooth. I did die once, but to be fair, this is the 2nd time I've done this fight, so I'm not too disappointed in that. I'm just glad this build can actually do it. And also just a note, I didn't have my amulet anointed, and I also didn't have MAME support linked to Flesh and Stone, and that is a lot of damage I can still gain. And as you can see, I also got a very juicy drop, which kind of pays for this entire build times 20. So very good league starter, would definitely recommend it. Let's take a look at the gear you need. There are 4 core items. The first one is of course the Dancing Duo, which you get by getting the Dancing Dervish, and you can then get the Prophecy, I think it's called Dance of Steel, and then you have to kill the boss of Arsenal map, and then it will upgrade your sword. You do not need to link them, which is what makes this build very cheap. You just need 6 sockets on it, so just spam those jeweler orbs. Yeah, I think the sword will cost you around 20 chaos at most. The next item is Victario's Influence. The stat you want to get high is the increased effect of non-curse auras from your skills, so try to get 15% on that one. I paid about 10 chaos for mine, but I did get it a bit later in the league, so expect about, I don't know, 30 chaos for this item. You also want to get at least 4 red sockets and 1 blue socket. The best way I found is to get at least 2 or 3 red sockets and no more than 1 green socket, and then you go use Vorisi in research, and hopefully you hit white socket on the green one. And the last items will of course be the 2 worm flasks. You want to get about 20% reduced charges used on them. You can get away with 19% as well, and they will cost around 10 chaos each. For the rest of the gear you may want to get life and resistance. For your helmet you want to get plus to level of socketed minion gems. Because it's an evasion build, it's gonna be hard to get 4 off colors on the helmet, so again I recommend using Vorisi in research, or you can go a hybrid evasion energy shield helmet. For the amulet you want to get as much life as you can and some resistances, and you also want to anoint Enduring Bond. And for the ring you want to get as well life resistance, and you need one open prefix and one open suffix. The prefix you will craft channeling skills have minus to total mana cost, and for the suffix you will put on your aspect of the spider. And the gloves as well, life resistances, and the boots same thing, and you also want to get increased movement speed at least 30%, and if you can get the 5% chance to dodge spell hits, that's a good bonus. And for the belt, life and resistances, and the important one is of course at least 18% reduced flask charges used. I stumbled across this new ring while I was playing and I thought I'll give it a try, and it actually works very nice. It gives you a lot of quality of life and it only costs 1 chaos, so definitely worth a try. You unfortunately lose life, there's no life on the ring, but it does have some resistances at least. For the most damage you want to put in vulnerability in the ring, and you want to have it on your left side, that way you still have the shocking skitterbot for that increased damage taken. You can also try temporal chains and then put the ring on your right side, so then you'll have the chilling skitterbot still active. You'll have temporal chains, you'll have aspect of the spider, and you'll also have maim, so that is 4 sources that will slow the enemy, which will also be quite fun. For the rest of the flasks you want to get the quartz flask for extra dodge and try to get staunching so you can be immune to bleeding on this one. The other flask, I accidentally still have my silver flask, which is pretty useless since I already have onslaught, but you want to get either a jade flask or you can get a step knight flask, and you want to have the curse immunity on that one. And the last flask is of course a quicksilver flask for the extra movement speed, and you want to get off adrenaline as well. That's it for all the gear. Up next I will put on all the cluster jewels I'm using. I won't add it to the cost of the build because I'm not sure what it will do in the next few leagues, if it will be too expensive or not. I will add another POB that doesn't use any cluster jewels. But yeah, first up for the large one, you want to get Call to the Slaughter, Feasting Fiends, and Rotting Claws. And you also want to get 2 jewel sockets. The Call to the Slaughter isn't that important, you don't really need to get it if you don't have the passives for it. The reason you still need it on the jewel is because Call to the Slaughter is always at the very end of the wheel, so it's possible to pick up your 2 jewel sockets and the other 2 without getting Call of the Slaughter. And then for the medium cluster jewels you wanna have Master of Command on all of them. And the second one is either you can have First Among Equals or you can have Precise Commander. The difference isn't really that big, so whichever you can get is fine. And for the small jewel you wanna have one with Fatal on it. And another option is also Elegant Form, which will give you extra dodge for spells and attacks, so whichever you prefer. And also a very important note, for the large cluster jewel you need to have 8 passive skills. If you have any more then you'll just be wasting some passive points. Same with the medium, you don't want any more than 5, so 4 or 5 is fine with those. And if you have Fatal you can have 3 small passives. If you go for Elegant Form then 2 passives is ideal. And just for a price reference, I've paid about 20 to 40 chaos for each of these cluster jewels. I think the large one was about 60 or 70 chaos. Oh, and I almost forgot, for the jewel sockets you wanna get the Ghastly Eye jewels with tier 1 minions deal additional physical damage. The rest of the stats don't really matter, just get something that might be useful to you. They should be about 5 to 10 chaos each. And for the Pantheon you wanna grab Soul of Shikari and also Soul of Arakali. Let's just go through all the gem setups. In your Dancing Duo you wanna have melee physical damage, you want Impale, Multi-Strike because they use the old Cyclone which still supports Multi-Strike, minion damage, you want damage on full life, that also works apparently, and Brutality. In the helmet, like I said, that's where your minion gems go, so they'll have Ray Spectre, you'll have your Carrion Golem and also Animate Guardian, and you'll have them all supported with minion life so they can stay alive a bit longer. These are the kind of gear you typically want to put on your animate guardian. They're not too pricey and they'll give you a bunch of damage and movement speed as well. The chest piece is obviously for all your auras. So you'll have Flesh and Stone linked with Main. And the other ones is Dread Banner, Summon Skitterbots and Pride. You'll probably have an extra blue socket in here so you can put in Convocation or Flame Dash. For the gloves you'll probably have your Cyclone set up, so that Cyclone linked with life gain on hit, Fortify and additional accuracy. And lastly in the boots you'll have Steel Skin linked with castman damage taken, probably a level 20. And you also have then your Flame Dash. And if you're not using the Profane Proxy Ring, then your curse will be in the last socket here. And for the Spectres, you want to get the Carnage Chieftain. They can be found in the old fields. I did find that my Spectres died a lot in this league. I don't know if it's the league mechanic or if they got nerfed. If that is the case, then just get any Spectre, doesn't really matter as long as you have them up for your Guardian passive, which gives you Onslaught for at least 5 nearby allies. I think I covered everything in this build. If you have any questions, then don't hesitate, just leave a comment down below. Try to answer them as soon as possible. Other than that, like and subscribe will be much appreciated. And keep an eye out for any new builds coming out. Thanks for watching everyone, I'll see you in the next one.